Normally you have one of two opinions of soccer. Either A, you really love it, or B, you view it as another sport because you're a football fan and soccer is inferior to football. You're a basketball fan. Soccer is inferior to basketball. If you take that view, you might want to wake up and watch the World Cup, which is coming up. Scott Zaring, the head coach of Jefferson Forest, points that out. And we just talked soccer as a whole, and we talked Scott Zaring as a whole. We recorded this on Thursday, so if you hear references to Friday or Saturday, that was yesterday in the case of Friday, today in the case of Saturday. It's Scott Zaring, kicking it around. Wow, that was corny. I'll show myself out, and I'll let you hear Scott Zaring on the Sports Buffet podcast.
Talking with Scott Zaring. He is the head soccer coach at Jefferson Forest High School. I try not to get people during season, but in all fairness, you asked for this too. So let's talk about it. There have been a few soccer coaches at JF, but most of them have all had the last name Zaring. More pressure or less pressure to take over from Pops?
I think it was a natural fit. Certainly big shoes to fill. And my mindset has always been to sort of take what he's built and see how I can elevate it or take it a step further. The on-field results, obviously we haven't won a state championship yet, but I think all the other stuff that we're trying to do with sponsorship and game day atmosphere and things like that, I feel like like I said, what he's built, I've been able to take that momentum and then put my own spin on it. So it's been a lot of fun filling in and stepping in for him.
Zaring is an old school guy because I had him as a teacher and I, obviously knew him as an athletic director. He's an old school guy. You've got that old school, I think, memories, but you're a new school guy because you talk about sponsorship, you talk about all this other stuff. Was it easy to focus into have old school? And, you're a younger guy, so I think you're automatically new school because of that, but easy or hard?
Yeah, I think the big difference and where the transition kind of occurred was in the late 2010s, so like 2017, 2018, when my dad was phasing out because he felt like he didn't quite connect with the players anymore. And I remember him saying that the music in the locker room, he'd never heard it. And it was like, it was he was fed up with it. So I had been his assistant for all those years. And I had gotten to the point where I think it was probably my 5th year of being his assistant where he's my dad, I'm his assistant, I'm coaching college. I was at the point where I felt like I'd learned everything I could from him. And so we started to butt heads like a father and son would. It was never disrespectful or anything, but just I started to get that arrogance of like, I can do it. And I think he probably noticed that I was probably ready. And so he decided to retire and I went through the interview process and got it. And I think one of the first things that changed was I think I was probably 28 when I got the job. And it's like my ability to connect with the younger players right off the bat started to really set the tone and kind of rejuvenate the energy in the program. So definitely being a player, learning from him, but putting my own spin on it.
Let me interrupt real quick. Can you connect well with kids because you're in the building or because you know their music?
To be fair, I don't even know the music that they listen to right now.
But you get where I'm going.
Yes. I will say my first couple years, I felt like we had a couple good years, but it wasn't until I did get in the building where I really felt connected to the players. The big difference was connected with the student body and being able to promote our events and get kids to want to come down to the field. And Nadine Blakely, shout out Nadine, she was the first one to do the free student ticket idea where she gave me $1,000 and I was able to just offer kids free tickets. And that's evolved now that it's a normal thing that we do every year where we get game sponsors and get kids in the game for free. But definitely being in the building, there's just I compare it to like Friday night football games where on Friday, the football players are all walking around in their jerseys. Everyone knows it's a game day. It's just like kind of got that little buzz. And when we have some big games, like certainly when we host Glass or we have a region home game or something, it's the same kind of feeling. There's just sort of a buzz in the building. And I don't think it wouldn't be like that if I weren't, classes are changing. It wouldn't be like that if I wasn't in the building.
Good to know academics are still going on here, by the way.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
When we look at, obviously, Coach Zaring, when I say Coach Zaring, I'm talking about Jed, obviously.
Yeah, Coach Zaring.
I'll call you Coach Zaring,
the
too,
kids
though.
call me Scott, which I know is like a little probably newer school, but when they say Coach Zaring, I'm like, that's my dad.
Right. It's kind of like if somebody calls me Mr. Alvis, I'm like, who?
Yeah.
Who's that?
Yeah.
Outside of Jed, who'd you learn the most from about either soccer or about ways to manage things?
Yeah, I think Coach Yeager at Lynchburg, I've been his assistant now for 10 years. I played for him. I knew him when I was in high school. And I really, the main reason I switched to transfer from SVU to Lynchburg was the ability or the potential to work for him as a grad assistant later. So I'm super thankful that pretty much that transfer into Lynchburg completely just changed the direction of my life. And now I'm getting a doctorate from Lynchburg. So it's like, but it's been great. He's taught me a lot of how to like be patient, be intentional, really think through decision making prior to just going in and sitting down. Had a conversation with him today about a player, about how we want to manage it. So I told you before, it's like when I have life decisions, certainly soccer decisions, it's like I'm calling my dad and then I'm calling Coach Yeager. And
he helps you out
Yeah.
in high school in the spring.
yeah, so he's our assistant coach here at JF, and I'm his assistant coach at Lynchburg. So we work really well together. I trust him. I know that he's going to tell me the truth, whether it's hard to take or whatever. But he also vice versa. I think he trusts me that I know what I'm doing at the high school level. He's kind of given me more and more responsibilities at Lynchburg as I've gotten in the program and stayed. So it's been great, and he's been a big help on my educational journey. I got a master's as a GA. Now I'm getting a doctorate at half off thanks to Lynchburg and Coach Yeager and working there. So been a big part of my life. So I definitely he's number 2 behind my dad.
What's the one thing that Yeager does better than? Well, I shouldn't say better than your dad, but what's the one thing that you really think Yeager does? Wow, he does that really good.
Well, they both hold their teams, and in my dad's case, held their teams to really high standards and always expected. We're competing for a state championship. We're competing for an ODAC championship at a minimum. Like it's just the expectation that JF's going to win the district, and Lynchburg is going to win the ODAC. But that's not ever the goal, right? It's like that's the expectation. The goal is a national championship and a state championship. And so I think they both kind of carried that through. One of the main differences in where I think Yeager is very, very good is in the practice planning stuff. I remember when I was a younger kid working for him, it always felt like it just took way too long. But now that I'm older, I've come to appreciate all the intentionality that was put into it, making sure that every step, like who's going to go on what team, so that when you get out to practice, you're being very efficient with your time. Because I know sometimes we get 2 hours of training every day, and it feels like it's a lot, but it goes quick. And so if you're not being efficient with your planning, you lose valuable time with your group.
You don't know every coach, do you?
I don't think I know every coach, no.
So if you had to give advice to younger coaches, what's your advice?
Younger coaches, first of all, you live in an age now where YouTube is available, and if you ever have a question of what type of activity or drill you should do, like that's a great place to get some material from. But what I would say is latch on to coaches that are doing well. Like try to find your way into a program that is successful, and or maybe word of mouth, coaches that have respect from your peers or whatever, and see if you can get in and work for them. I mean, that was a big reason, like I said, that I wanted to go to Lynchburg, because they do it well, and I wanted to be a part of that program and really see what it takes to win ODACs and to make runs into the national tournament.
What's your advice to older coaches?
Older coaches, surround yourself with really good assistants, because at the end of the day, you can't do it all. Having really good assistants helps you connect with your players, because, like, for example, we brought in Kenny this year, who's a assistant at Lynchburg, and he's young, so he connects with the players, and it sort of creates, not that I'm so old that like I can't connect with them, but as I get older and my age gap grows, I want to continue to have strong assistants that can help facilitate the relationships and connect with the players.
Well, kids are going to class now, so that's it.
Yeah.
At least I know my daughter's getting an education here in her last few weeks.
Yeah.
I never ask about other coaches directly in this, but I'm going to ask about one now. What is the secret sauce that you think Shelley Blumenthal has at Blacksburg?
Yeah, I wish I could be a fly on the wall in his team talks and in his coach talks. And I think one thing that I've always heard about Shelley and what I have come to know is he's going to outwork you in the preparation phase. He is gonna, like, every season, it never fails. I see him at least at one of our games.
Did y'all play against him a lot when you were playing?
Yeah, it seemed like every year we would line up against him at least once. We used to play him in the regular season, and then depending on how the old region would work out, we would face him at some point.
Did you coach against him a lot?
I have coached against him probably, if I had to guess, like between 5 and 10 times at this point.
What makes him tough to coach against?
Again, he's prepared.
Mhm.
Like he knows your kids' names. He knows what. Not that learning names isn't that hard, I guess, but he can see a face and know their name, and it's like, I know who his best players are, but I'm not going to learn the fifth sub that comes off the bench's name, right? No disrespect to that kid, but he's just like that. That's how his mind works. He knows who the kids are. He knows what their tendencies are. He then explains that to his players. So now his players are all prepared. And the one thing I've always known about a Blacksburg team is they're just never going to quit. I've been in so many games, whether it's coaching or playing against them, where it feels safe and we have a lead and they score at the death. And I've watched them do it. They did it this year against PH. They did it last year against PH, where they're just scoring in overtime to win games and keeping the foot on the gas. And so a ton of respect for what he's built and the consistency of the ability to just get results. Like, I scratch my head sometimes because I feel like we've had really good teams here and we haven't gotten a state championship. Doesn't mean we're not successful and that we're not winning good games, but he's done it so consistently over such a long period of time that there is a secret sauce. So hopefully one day he writes a book and we can all learn from it.
You kind of talked about it, but in my limited dealings with him, the thing that sticks out to me, and you talk about it when you talk about he knows the fifth sub's name, humility. Yeah. I think Shelley Blumenthal has a level of humility that I would love to have.
Yeah, he's very humble. He anytime we're talking to him about like when we're in the all region meetings and things like that, he definitely has a way of talking up your players and being super respectful about your players and other coaches, and at the same time not coming guns blazing being like, oh, my player's player of the year, he's the best player. He really has a good way of advocating for his players, but also being respectful of other players and other coaches. And you can tell he just loves soccer, and ultimately he wants what's best for the kids and what's best for the game. And I think that is the best thing that a coach can have.
High schoolers, how much do you stress paying attention when you're in the classroom?
Yeah, they struggle sometimes to put a full 50-minute class together. But for me, like, teaching in here, it's all just relationships with the kids.
But you teach something too that we didn't have when I was in school. You teach sports marketing.
Yeah, sports marketing, and I have a sports management class.
Right.
And it's a lot of fun. So the kids enjoy it most of the time. And I have been able to sort of not just help my own soccer team market our sport, but like we have a lacrosse game tonight where the first 80 kids get to come and get free Kona ice because we had a couple lacrosse booster parents and a coach who stepped up and did the sponsorship. And so tonight should be a great event. And my class played a part in putting that on and getting the tickets out and making posters. So it's definitely like an interactive class where the kids can sort of see the actual work that goes on to promote our sporting events. And that's really cool.
Soccer feels weird in the shape of this. It's sometimes I think you feel like you're on an island, because I've heard stories of how your dad was called the soccer AD when he was an athletic director. How important is it to not keep soccer as, hey, we're in this corner of the room, all the basketball, football, lacrosse, baseball players are on that corner? How important is it that we kind of all mingle together, not in terms of just players, but the adults as well?
Yeah, soccer's growing. I mean, we got the World Cup coming this year. I think that's going to be a big boost
But you're a big fan of other sports,
not
absolutely. Just soccer.
Yeah, I mean, trust me, if I could probably go back and do it all over, I think I'd, with my long, lanky arms, be like a baseball pitcher. Would have been a pretty cool job. Love baseball, love watching the NFL, big Eagles fan, obviously, which hate me or love me for that. But the NBA's, I'm kind of losing interest in the NBA, but we'll
It's a
get
younger
there.
man's game at
Yeah.
the same time in my eyes. But
Yeah.
but anyway, how do we get? You said the World Cup's coming. It was here, I want to say, in '94.
Yep.
Which I think it gives the World Cup and Olympics. I think gives everything a boost
Yeah, absolutely.
for a couple months.
Right.
But how can we get soccer with the momentum? Because in my opinion, MLS is again geared towards those soccer fans, but it's not. I don't think to the 100% masses. How can we get there?
Well, the biggest soccer league right now is the EPL, and those games are typically at 9 a.m. or some kickoff at 7 a.m. on Saturday morning. So that's a part of it. I think it's like where the NFL, it's all these primetime night games, and it's easy to you have fantasy football and all.
What's
that
on
stuff.
Paramount in the middle of the day sometimes?
Yeah,
is that EPL or is that
it's Paramount.
What's the difference in EPL and UEFA?
So that's what's on Paramount is the Champions League.
Okay.
So EPL is the English league. All those top teams, I think the top 3 or 4 get to go compete in the UEFA Champions League, which is essentially the best teams of Europe from all the different clubs compete to be the best club in Europe.
Because I'm looking at flags here. You've got Arsenal, Bayern. Is it Munich?
Yeah, Bayern Munich.
Okay, thanks. I was going to screw that up.
Juventus is up there. Got Philadelphia Union, Spanish national team.
But Arsenal is kind of like the Yankees per se, maybe a little bit lesser.
I would, if I had to guess,
maybe Man U.
Yeah, Man U's probably. I think Man U's probably the Dallas Cowboys. You know, they got a lot of money and a lot of annoying fans, and they don't win.
Who's the Eagles?
The Eagles, the team that nobody likes.
Well, I mean, they've won Super Bowls here recently.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably an awful comparison, but it could be Man City because the people who like Man City love them to death, and everyone else is just.
But do we need to get connotations kind of like that going to get people like me and
we absolutely could. I think hopefully what happens is the World Cup comes to America, or North America, I should say, and the U.S. national team makes it out of the group stage and can win a game and show real momentum and show that they actually belong on the top stage and that we are one of the best teams in the world. And then all of those players then find themselves on these types of teams where they have a good World Cup and they end up getting signed to play on these big teams. And then Americans will support the players that they saw compete for a World Cup now playing for an Arsenal or Bayern Munich, which again is a reach, but like that would be really, really cool.
Who's the most famous U.S. soccer player?
I think right now
all time.
It's in my head. It's probably Landon Donovan.
Okay.
I think Christian Pulisic is probably the new,
Where's Alexei Lawless in that?
He's a commentator and he
keeps his name out there.
Yeah, he is very prominent and he's got his hot takes. I remember growing up watching him play, and everyone remembered his fiery red hair.
Yep. Doesn't Landon have a podcast now too?
Probably.
I think Landon's social media, because I've seen him pop up on a few of mine. It helps.
He's a pundit, as the soccer world says. He's always out there talking about the U.S. national team and MLS and all the things.
Did he do? Was he a studio analyst for the World Cup last time?
I think so. Yeah.
See, you need to respect my
you're locked
soccer.
in.
Eric Winalda of that '94 World Cup team. How many people can name Eric Winalda
around this building? Maybe 2 or 3.
Well, now you got 4.
Yeah.
Where do you want JF soccer to go? Because I would say Pop's got it put on the map pretty well.
Yeah.
Where do you want it to go?
I mean, I think the obvious answer is we want to win a lot of state championships, but I don't think, and maybe this is just my cop-out answer because I've been doing this 9 years and haven't gotten one. Success shouldn't just be gauged off of how many trophies you have. I think one of the things that I take pride in with our group is you talked about how can soccer kind of come to the playing field with all the other sports. Again, I could be biased, but I feel like at JF there's a lot of support and understanding that soccer is a prominent sport here.
I think JF's got a different spring sports culture than a lot of schools around the area. Agree or disagree?
Yeah, I think you look at our spring sports and we're all competitive and we all have that hunger that we are expecting to, again, not saying that we should win the district every year, but the expectation at the beginning of the year is that's our main first goal, right? We want to win the district. And I think we have a lot of teams that compete for Seminole District every single year and have aspirations of again, Seminole District is the first step, but we all want to be there playing in June on that second weekend, 90-degree weather. Like, stinks sometimes, but that's where we want to be.
First step, not only step.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I do feel like, I mean, one of the main reasons we did the free student tickets was I wanted to create this atmosphere at soccer games that matched football, which I know is not quite possible, but the idea that these high school kids, when there's 800 of them down there at the football games, there might be 50 of them that are actually there to watch the football game.
100%.
And the rest of them are there because it's an event. It's got to go, right?
And walk around, see my friends.
Correct.
Band, if you want to.
Yeah,
I mean,
right. And so we wanted to create a similar event where even if you don't know anything about soccer, you still got to be there. And so that's where the Pack the Track nights came about. And again, like I shouted out Nadine, we've had Thompson Brooks Insurance has sponsored our glass game every year for the last 4 years. And we do Pack the Track, which
probably a logistical nightmare.
Now it's line the fence. Yeah, I've had some admin that they're probably fed up with me at this point because I'm constantly trying to push the issues. But and then we get Cravables to come out and give free ice cream to the kids. So it's like I'm basically bribing these high school kids to come watch a soccer game with the hopes of they come watch a soccer game. They see the actual sport that it is, where guys are getting hit and it's full contact. And I mean, it just seems like every time we have these big games, somebody's coming off the field with a split open head or something like. And it's a battle, and that we are one of the best teams in the state, and that Glass is also one of those teams. And so when we play, it's like it's an event, it's a spectacle.
Right.
People want to be there, and then the hope is that kid enjoys it and's like, I want to go back. And now we've just made a new fan.
What's helped soccer in Central Virginia?
People that care. I think we do have a lot of people in this town that want soccer to be great. I don't think they always, and I'll include myself in that, we always don't see eye to eye. I think that's the main goal, is to get everyone on the same page and see if we can really grow. I do think the World Cup's going to help. I really do. I think there's going to be a few big events, like downtown Lynchburg's going to have a couple. I know we'll probably have some in Forest. And just galvanizing the sport, getting people interested and getting that buzz back. And I guarantee you we're going to see rec numbers go up after the World Cup.
That's what needs to happen, because to me, I hate to say this to you, but I mean, you're going to almost be gray before soccer probably gets really good, because you're going to have, and I shouldn't say really good, but like the CV, the 9-10-year-olds.
Yeah.
Hey, mom, I don't want football cleats. I want soccer cleats.
Yeah.
Or, stuff like that.
And I do know, like, obviously I have insider info, being that I'm on the board at FYA, and I know the numbers, and they're record. Like, we're pushing 600 kids playing soccer. And so certainly in this area, it is really growing. I tell all of my, like, I've got friends now that have kids that are getting ready to start sports. And it's like, even if they don't end up being a soccer player in their long-term career, they should still play soccer at a young age, because it's not just hand-eye coordination, it's hand-eye foot. And so
endurance too.
Yeah, and endurance, and it's nonstop. There's decision-making. So there's all these things where it helps whatever sport you end up playing. And
how much do you hope that can help? That banner I point to, it says Lynchburg FC.
Yeah, I think Lynchburg FC is doing a good job. I think Hill City FC, brand new, we'll see what they're able to do. Carlos at Lynchburg has done a phenomenal job getting really, really good semi-pro teams and competing. I was fortunate I got to play for them in their inaugural year, and it was one of the most fun experiences I ever had. So we'll see how the new Hill City FC group does. They got their first game Saturday. Hopefully they can also compete at a high level, so we can have two teams here. That's the kind of stuff that with the World Cup, with these really good professional teams that we are now having in town, with the good high school soccer, like Lynchburg's a soccer town.
But you're going all in on that World Cup thing. Is it boom or bust for World Cup?
Well, I don't think people, like we talk about in my sports marketing class, if you ask Americans, the average American, what's the most viewed sporting event in the world, they're going to say the Super Bowl. But then you look at the numbers of the World Cup, and it's not even remotely close. I mean, we're talking billions, where Super Bowl's millions. So it's wild, because the whole world is watching. And it's one of those things where I remember when the South Korea World Cup, I remember my dad waking me up at 3 a.m. to watch a game. DeMarcus Beasley playing left back, like 3 a.m. I'm half asleep, but I'm up watching the World Cup. And fortunately, the World Cup is here now, so the times are going to be perfect for Americans. And you're going to be able to go to the amphitheater in Lynchburg. You're going to be able to go to Apocalypse, and there's going to be the American Outlaws there, and you're going to get to be amongst people who are all just supporting America and the country. And
it becomes
it's so
USA,
fun.
USA.
I'm getting chills thinking about it.
You don't have to be a soccer fan,
Right.
I think.
You're an America fan.
How many people like swimming and track? And I'm not trying to knock
Right,
those sports,
right.
but
when the Olympics are on, you're
Big time.
rooting your tail off for somebody you probably don't even know their name, and eventually you get a Michael Phelps, and now everyone knows their name.
who's the second best swimmer ever? I don't know. You
Yeah,
know what
right.
I'm saying? I mean, it's probably Mark Spitz or somebody like that. But I mean, name me somebody that has great swimming success that you don't know from the Olympics. You can't.
Right.
So-
And that's going to be similar to the World Cup, where you're going to have a lot of average Americans that don't know who Christian Pulisic is. Maybe they've heard of him, but now they see him wearing the captain armband. They see him score a game-winning goal to get us through to the elimination rounds, and it's like,
So wait, Winalda's not playing this time?
he's not.
Brian
No,
McBride?
he might be.
No, Brian McBride?
That's a name, Brian McBride. I remember that one. That was probably one of those years waking up at 3 a.m. trying to watch us win in South Korea.
I want to say it was like 98 or 02 Senegal.
Yeah.
Senegal pulls the early upset over like England.
Yeah. 02 was
So-
probably South Korea, if I had to guess. Because
But-
98, I want to say, might have been France.
Gosh, I don't even remember who coached the 94 team. That was last time it was here, or am I wrong?
94 was here. 99 was also here for the women.
Oh, we got Big Boom in 94. Brandy Chastain lifting her shirt also
That was
helped.
99.
That helped.
Yeah,
That helped too.
The 99ers, great documentary.
Gosh, I don't even remember who coached in 94. I know Steve Sampson coached at one point, and that didn't go well. Or
Right.
Bob Bradley. I forget. Somebody.
Bruce Arena was one of the names
Yes.
of the coaching staff
Yes.
growing up. And I think I said 98 was France. I know that's wrong. I don't remember where it was.
Senegal beat France, I think, in one of those early. It was. So if you're not familiar with the way World Cup goes, I'm going to show
Yeah,
my
go
soccer
for
knowledge off real quick. You have what's called pool play, which is basically there are 4 teams. You've got to be one of the top 2 to get out. I want to say you get like 2 points for a win, 1 point for a tie.
3 and 1.
Something like and ties in soccer are unfortunately or fortunately
It's a part of the game.
common.
Yeah, part of the game. We hate them in high school, but that great pull with the tie. We tied glass at our big game, and I just remember walking away being like,
I thought you lost.
well, and
I'm
I was
talking to you.
Yeah, and I was frustrated with how we played, but I was also just bummed for the fans because it was like I got all these new high school kids who'd probably never been to a soccer game, and they're here, and they're like, I just heard them over on the sideline, like, is it over? It's like, yeah, we tied.
I was sitting near your dad and Coach Ponder, and I was asking because I can't remember the overtime golden goal. Now, golden goal, if you don't know, that's pretty much instantaneous end.
Yep, game's
there.
over.
Overtime, I want to say you can play sometimes let's say 10 minutes, and you're playing the whole 10. So even if you score, we still got to finish out the 10.
Yep.
Regular season does not. How does that work? I
So
forget.
regular season is just a 5-minute and a 5-minute
Okay.
overtime period, and then once you get into the postseason, it adds a 5-minute golden goal.
Yeah, and
Before penalty.
we got to have a winner in postseason.
Got to have a winner in postseason.
Final thing, you're I think kind of more futuristic in terms of you see the future with oh gosh, now I forgot I want to call it LOI, but that's not it. Oh gosh,
TVU
what?
club team?
No, the whole part where people can get paid in high school and college.
Oh, NIL.
NIL, thanks.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I had 2 letters right, or 1 letter right.
Yeah.
Does NIL is it a good thing?
So I think NIL is ultimately a good thing when done correctly. I think there are certainly dangerous parts of it where you might have some sketchy agents that are offering contracts and read the fine print type stuff. There's going to be a lot of that, but
At your level,
at our level, hopefully that doesn't happen. But
Right.
again, parents, before you sign an NIL contract, read everything. I think for us, like certainly with soccer,
and talk to your ADs to make sure
yes,
you don't
definitely
get
talk
an
to your
ineligible
ADs.
thing.
Yeah, I think with soccer, one of the things we really try to do with JF soccer is it's all through sponsorship. So I want my kids to really want to be a part of this program. And one of the ways that you connect with kids right now is you give them stuff. And so getting sponsorships of shirts and shorts, and I think we have 6 practice tops this year, which, yeah, it's excessive. But at the same time, if people are wanting to pour in and make this happen, like, I'm not going to say no to this stuff. So we have this kind of stuff. This year, I'm pumped. Like, it's hard to do NIL. I've been looking into how we do it. The problem with NIL is a coach can't go get NIL stuff for their kids. The kids kind of have to do it on their own. And so the way we've kind of like legally circumvented it is we get more stuff as part of their gear package. So Cole Rice is a realtor who gave us a really nice sponsorship. And so we were able to, essentially, I got to go to my players and say, you have a $285 limit. You go to soccerpost.com and you find a pair of cleats. And so every single one of my kids this year got a fresh pair of.
The average cost for cleats?
If you want like the top pair, like the elites or whatever they're called, they're like $250 and up. But you can get a really good pair between $150 and $200. But they're expensive. They're too expensive.
Welcome to 2026.
Yes,
people.
They are too expensive. But at the same time, I think with Cole, it really showed that there is a willingness to support the community. I think when I was sort of pitching this idea to her, the idea of like doing this for a program is really cool. And do these kids need these cleats? Absolutely not. And my goal then becomes making sure they're not spoiled and making sure they haven't won games before they've played them.
Well, real quick, let's throw this in there. Are you worried about NIL? And you've talked about it here. Does NIL make it me over we? Because you want we over me.
It certainly can. I think in the college ranks, you're seeing that through the transfer portal where kids are just leaving because either A, they weren't promised what they were sold, or B, they're chasing a bag somewhere else. And that's a bummer. Like, I hope that there are solutions to that. In high school, I haven't quite see it play out. To my knowledge, we haven't had an NIL player at JF. I know there have been some at other schools. And at the end of the day, like, it is a cool thing. And I do think more small businesses should look at that as a marketing. Like, if you have the best football player on your team who's going to go play at a high Division I team and everyone's paying attention to him, like, if he comes out and says, I'm sponsored by so-and-so, people pay attention to that.
Yeah, but we're getting into some rarities now.
We are.
Because, transfer portal is probably another podcast topic that we could go an hour for at least.
Yeah, it sounds like
back to my original question.
Yeah. I mean, again, I think the NIL stuff it's great. The idea behind it is great, but it has to be done correctly and it has to have oversight. And again, parents, read fine print, because there are people out there that are looking to take percentages.
Shysters.
All the things, right? And unfortunately, there's been already a lot of stories out there of people getting Houdini'd, and next thing you know, they thought they had this big allotment of money, and they don't get any of it because of the way they signed the contract. So the horror stories there. But
I lied to you on two things. I said last question, and that was a lie, and I said I won't bring up people's names, but that's a lie too. How much do you talk to Matt Newton at this point in time?
Yeah, a lot. I do think Matt.
Is he more valuable than a Randy Terrell? And I bring that up because Randy's not this school. Randy coaches your sport, and I love Randy and I love Matt, but they don't. Randy doesn't coach here.
Yeah,
Matt coaches here, but Matt doesn't coach your sport. How valuable is Matt to you?
Yeah, well, Matt is basically my brother at this point. When you had asked like what coaches have you learned the most from? Like, probably haven't learned the most from Matt, but I've learned a lot from Matt. And we joke about it all the time that we're polar opposites, and that's what makes us work so well. He's coaching girls, I'm coaching boys. He's had a lot of success. He's been a state coach of the year. He's won a state championship. So like, he knows how to do it and how to get it done. And I do think we work pretty well together. We are able to sort of have this dynamic duo of like, hey, here's what my team needs today. Are you able to accommodate? And 95% of the time, it's like, yeah, we'll make it work. And he's the same way. And again, it's just another person that when stuff happens, which in high school sports, it happens all the time, he's just an extra person I can kind of vent to, talk through what I would do. He gives me what he would do. And I'm very much a person that like, I'm going to go dive in and figure it out. And he's the opposite, where he wants to really have all the facts beforehand. So he has helped me a lot, where I'm kind of not thinking through everything right away. And he kind of like, hey, take a breath. Like, let's talk about it. So he's been really good for me.
Changing again, I guess.
Yeah. Lunchtime.
So, okay, one more thing. You've got a coach that is successful in the same season as you are, but they coach a different sport. We'll just use the name Ron Gillen, coaches
Yeah.
baseball, very successful. Or we'll use somebody that's successful, but they don't coach in the same season. We'll maybe say Coach Cruz for football. How can a coach that doesn't coach your season help versus as opposed to a coach coaches your season, doesn't coach your sport?
Yeah, I think, again, you just named two coaches that their expectation is to go all the way. And so I do think we have a great community of coaches here where, again, if something happens, I know that I could go over to Coach G's room or down to Coach Cruz's office and I could talk through it with them and they would give me their ideas. And that's great. I think it's so important to have a support system, and we have a lot of coaches that do it at a high level. And so we don't know everything, right? Like maybe I have a situation that I've never experienced, but Coach Cruz has. And so I can go talk to him and pick his brain. And same thing with Coach G. And I'd like to think they can do the same thing. You know, if they have a problem with somebody or a problem that they want to address or talk through, like I'm happy to do it. So we have a good culture here when it comes to that.
Okay, now final question. What's your biggest challenges?
Challenges on the soccer field or challenges?
What's your biggest challenges? I mean, not like what am I going to eat for dinner, but like, you know, has related
which I don't know what I'm going to eat for dinner.
Has related to coaching or sports. What's your biggest challenges?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge facing like sports in general in this area is space. I think we're landlocked here at JF. We struggle with one turf field that needs to be repaired. And
we struggle with one turf field. Most people can't say we struggle with one turf field.
That is fair. Perspective matters. I will say.
How important is it to feel grateful? Yeah. Because you do have a turf field.
We do have a turf field. And I will say that has been awesome. But at the same time, we have, I think it's 8 teams that are lobbying for that one turf field in the spring. And it doesn't work.
And you probably care about one more, 2 really big in terms of your JV program.
Right. Like they need to be able to, because they're the future. So I do think like at JF, space is limited. In Forest as a whole, like being on the FYA board, I know that we would love to double the size of the park, but like where can you do that? And how can you do that? I think there's a need for indoor space. Like, again, there's so much potential in this town. Sports is busting at the seams. There are so many good young athletes in this town. And if we could just, you talk about biggest challenges, we could snap a finger and fix something, adding so many more fields and baseball diamonds, softball diamonds, all the things, so that truly the athletes can grow as much as they want to, because they all want to. I hear it all the time.
Is being a soccer coach a challenge? And let me put it this way, because if you go to an older person, they're going to say, well, he's just a soccer coach. Hey, I'm a coach. I'm not a soccer coach. I'm a coach. So, hey, 35-year-old or 35-year football, basketball coach, I want to learn from you, but don't label me as he's the soccer coach.
Yeah, I think there's a little sales component when I go interact with people like that who may not understand soccer fully, but I'll equate it to the same thing as a freshman kid who's never been to a JF soccer game. It's like, I want to get them to come watch one and see it, because I'm telling you, you come to some of our big games, like that glass game every single year, does not matter who's on what team. That game is fun, and win, lose, tie, whatever. It's an event. There's people there. But yeah, I'm a big culture coach. Like I really take pride in the culture that I have sort of created in my head over the first couple years of my program, but really now with my coaching staff and the alumni have sort of implemented this. And I will talk culture till I'm blue in the face with any coach.
And that's the thing, I think, that some people don't feel like they can talk culture to the soccer coach or the, softball coach or the whoever, just because they've coached XYZ for 30 years.
Yeah. Well, I had a professor at Lynchburg, Dr. Jones, whose son's Lucas Jones. Mm-hmm. He used to always quote, if you ain't growing, you're dying. Yep. So if you're one of those coaches out there that think you don't need to learn from other coaches, you're dying.
Well, and you can teach me stuff, and I'm not a coach, but you can teach me stuff about life just because maybe it's something I haven't thought of.
Right.
So I think if you have
everyone's got a different one.
If you have the knowledge of, hey, I'm going to hoard my knowledge and not share it, lunch is over, I guess. Or is lunch starting?
I think lunch is starting.
Okay, well, hopefully I'll walk by real quick so my kid won't see me if she's there. But, I think, hoarding knowledge can be I think maybe a detriment.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, not that like I'm the person that's going to go spew my knowledge on everybody, because I think they all need to learn it. But one of the things we try to do at JF is we always do try to have the grad assistant at Lynchburg come be the assistant, and I kind of throw him right in there and say, like, Kenny's our technical director, so he's running the practices. I'm like overseeing.
What does that mean, running a practice?
So he is the one who will come up, like, essentially we'll communicate and say, hey, I think we need to work on this, this, and this. And then he will take that and plan the actual practice.
So are you like the CEO at practice?
I like to call myself a GM.
Okay.
So I do walk around. I will hop in and run sessions if I need to. But the way I kind of run my program is there's a lot of delegation. I think, again, that's part of what makes our program so good. And it is something that allows me to really have like a 1,000-foot view where I can look at everything. And it frees me up to be able to go get these sponsorships and make sure our high peak order is ordered on time, and make sure our game tickets are printed and cut so that we can get students here. I really am like, I look at high school soccer as, soccer is just a part of what the program is. And so in order to keep the soccer at a high level, I delegate a high level coach to focus solely on practice planning. Because during my day, it's hard for me to really sit down and take an hour to plan a full practice, but Kenny has more free time. He's able to do this. So it allows us to just be able to do things at a high level. We can really focus on the things we're good at. I do think I'm a good soccer coach, but
are you a better coach of the game, or are you a better teacher of the game in terms of you can teach a skill?
It just depends. I think I'm a goalkeeper coach at Lynchburg and at Hill City. So I do think I'm good at doing that. I think ultimately I'm good at decision making and being comfortable in stressful situations and never getting too high or too low, and delegating. I think that is a strength. And I'm in my head constantly, like, one of our big pillars is nobody cares, work harder. And I'm constantly like reiterating that in the back of my head, that it doesn't matter if something's going a certain way. Like, we have to delegate, make sure that people are picking up the pieces and making sure nothing's falling through the cracks. And it's hard in high school because you don't have as much time as you think, and there's always something going on. You get an email that a kid missed class or something, and it's like, oh, there's one more thing we got to go deal with. And but it's fun. And I think the big thing that I always talk about high school compared to college is, in college you're recruiting the puzzle pieces to make the puzzle that you want. In high school, you get the puzzle pieces and you got to fit them together and make the best puzzle you can.
I disagree with that a little bit, because I think in high school you're recruiting, but not necessarily. You're looking at your halls, but you're also recruiting the kid to make them feel loved, wanted,
sure,
important. So I think that's the
relationship building.
We argue all the time about I shouldn't say argue, discuss.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the world needs to come to, because you talked about it. We don't need to have arguments, but you need to be able to have a discussion with XYZ coach to where, hey, I'm not going to throw fists, but discussions are what leads to Scott Zaring being a better coach, and it leads to other people.
And again, if I thought I knew everything, then like my professor said, I'd be dying right now. So,
but if the area's not good, that doesn't help you either.
Sure, yeah.
You know what I mean? Right or wrong?
If the area,
if the district is not good, if JF's not getting challenged in that district, if JF's not getting challenged each game, where is that helping you?
I think the district's better than it's ever been, truly.
Right, but you get where I'm going.
Yeah, no, I get that. I think, and part of that comes with the out-of-conference scheduling. We got to make sure that we are playing teams that we think will be competing for state championships. Like, you look over at what Glass is doing, playing Western and Charlottesville. Like, both of those teams are going to have a real chance to win a state championship. And Randy has just put his kids through these battles so that when they do get into the postseason, they're battle ready. Like, they're ready to go. We try to do the same thing with Patrick Henry. We've got William Fleming on Monday, so a couple 5A Roanoke schools that really just kind of throw my kids out there and let's see really where we stack up. But again, these district games, like, we know that we are JF, and so we have that target on our back a lot of the times. And so that is the one thing that I battle a lot, is our kids, trying not to let our kids become complacent. And just because we put a JF patch on and we show up and we look cool, that we're going to win a game. It's like, that is not acceptable in our program. That is why the nobody cares, work harder mindset is sort of our main motto. That it doesn't matter how good the teams in the past have been. It doesn't matter how many goals you scored last game or how many goals we scored. Like, or if you lost, it doesn't matter. Like, you got to continue to get better, continue to work. If you ain't growing, you're dying.
It's kind of what my dad said about education. We'll talk more in the future, but we just won't talk during the World Cup because you'll be busy.
I will be busy. Hopefully you'll be with me, and it'll be a fun time.
Maybe you can drag me out for once.
Yeah, I'll
so
get
we'll
you
see.
out there. I'll get you out there.